communication. According to the dictionary definition, it's sending or receiving information. So we have a sender and a receiver. So the sender will give a message, and the receiver will give feedback, unless you're a teenager, which is totally normal to ignore your parents. And also, the receiver will interpret the meaning of the message. So humans can communicate through language, through body language, through sign language. But what about animals? We know that dogs, they bark to each other to communicate. And cats, they meow to each other. Sometimes they hiss, sometimes they use body language. And my cats actually communicate with me through meowing because they want food, or they just want to annoy me. They don't want me to sleep. So they do that. That's a way to communicate too, because I get a signal. And for dolphins, they use chirping and whistle. So you can see many dolphin trainers, they use a whistle to train their dolphin. And for fireflies, they use glowing patterns. So if you happen to be so lucky to see fireflies during April or May, which is their mating seasons, you can see male firefly actually have a glowing pattern that attracts female fireflies, which is very amazing to see. And since my lab is working on insects, so I'm going to focus more on insect communication today. There are actually 4 different ways for insects to communicate. First way is tactile communication. It means physical contact. So I gotta move, sorry. So these little green bugs are actually aphids, and they feast on plants and produce honeydews. And this big little guy is ants. They actually offer protection for aphids from harsh weathers and predators. So in return, ants will use its antennae to stroke aphids to get honeydew as their rewards. So the second way for insects to communicate is acoustic communication. So Brian should know it's the song. Okay, so I'm going to play a YouTube clip on grasshopper mating calls. So this is grasshopper mating calls. They made a sound through their movement of their wings and legs. And usually the louder, the better. And for us human beings, it's just very loud, especially it's in the midnight. But for female grasshopper, the louder, the more attractive. Okay, so the third way to communicate is visual communication. So it's the sight. So the example that I use is actually owl butterflies. So you can see there are actually 2 owl butterflies here, and they're actually hanging on the branches. And the wings actually looks like a pair of owl eyes. That's why they're called owl butterflies. And this can actually scare away other insects or their predators. So it's a way to communicate with other insects to tell them to back off. There's an owl here. Okay, the last way to communicate is chemical communication, which is what my lab is working on the most. So I'm going to elaborate on this part. So chemical communication in insects actually, again, has a sender and a receiver. And the sender will release some pheromone, which is a message. And the word's got covered, but anyway. So the insect will use pheromone receptor on its antennae to receive those messages. And my lab actually worked on this very special insect called Solenopsis invicta, also known as red imported fire ants. And if you Google fire ants, you're going to see a lot of news, and none of them are good because they are invasive, they damage your crops, they can be lethal to humans because on their abdomen there's a sting that will inject into animals, including humans. And the injection includes some venom that actually will create allergic reactions. So if we have severe allergic reaction, it might be lethal to humans. So that's why many scientists try to study a way to get rid of them. So where do fire ants come from? They actually originated in South America, and then somehow they migrate to the southern part of America, and then through transportation, they move to Asia, then Australia. And in Taiwan, they're mostly located in the northern part of Taiwan. And southern part of Taiwan, there's another species, but it's less harmful. So this is a fire ant colony on the outside. So it's like a red soil mound. So if you really see this in a field or outside, just don't step on it, because there might be a lot of fire ants in there, then you have to go to hospitals. They covered my queen. Okay, so inside the fire ant colony, in the black box here, there should be a queen, which looks very different from the workers here. It has big abdomen, and it's the solo reproductive females in the colony. So workers, although they're females, they lack the reproductive system, so they cannot reproduce. So one way for many scientists is try to get rid of, including my lab, is to get rid of the queen. Then the colony will eventually crash. And there's actually ant with wings here. It's male. So you can tell by its color, it's darker. It has darker color than the workers and also the queen, if you guys can have a chance to see it. Okay, so red imported fire ants actually have two different social types. First is monogyne colony. That means mono means one, so they only have one queen. And for polygyne colony, they can have many queens, and it can, in a while, they can have up to 100 queens. And they're different by their genomic composition, so I'm not going over detailed about it because it's too complicated. Okay, so what happens when a new queen wants to join a monogyne colony? So we can have a new monogyne queen or a new polygyne queen. And when they want to join a monogyne colony, the workers will kill her. And a new polygyne queen wants to join a monogyne colony, the workers will kill her too. So monogyne workers kill all the new queens. They don't accept any new queens to come. But what about in a polygyne situation? So you have a new monogyne queen again and a new polygyne queen. So they want to join a polygyne colony. Again, the monogyne queen will get killed. However, the polygyne queen will get accepted. That means they must have a different sending a different message, so they have different queen pheromone composition. And so also the polygyne workers can distinguish the queen pheromones from monogyne queen and polygyne queen, and kill the monogyne one and accept the polygyne one. So in short, the queen will release some pheromone that signal the worker that she's a queen. And the worker, they can receive the signal through their antennae, and they can act upon the pheromone that they receive. If it's a monogyne pheromone, then they actually kill the queen. If it's polygyne, they can accept it. So in my lab, we had done a very simple experiment before. So we took a monogyne queen, brought up against a polygyne worker. So this polygyne worker will actually have some monogyne queen pheromone on itself. And when we place this worker back into its polygyne colony, the worker actually killed her because she was recognized as the queen. So basically, wrong pheromone equal to wrong signal, which leads to bad consequences. For example, if you promise your parents that you're not going to smoke or drink again, but you actually hang out with a bunch of friends who smoke and drink all the time, when you go home, you have many things to explain to your parents. So how can we use communication to eliminate fire ants? So we know that monogyne queen will get killed anyway. So we can compare the pheromone composition between polygyne queen and monogyne queen, and find a crucial element in monogyne queen. And spread this crucial element on polygyne queen, so they'll smell like monogyne queen. And they'll get killed by workers when they try to join your colony. And again, since queen's the only reproductive female in the fire ant colony, so if there will be no new queens, then the colony will eventually crash. And another aspect to eliminate fire ants through communication is to study the workers. So we have monogyne workers, which sense the queen pheromone and kill the queen. For polygyne workers, they sense the queen pheromone, they distinguish it, the kill will accept the queen. So if we find a receptor that is responsible for distinguish the queen pheromone, and we destroy this receptor on the polygyne workers, then they'll behave like monogyne workers. And they'll sense the queen and kill the queens. Again, no more new ants will be reproduced, and then the colony will crash. So these are actually the two aspects that my lab is working on. So we're working from the queen perspective and also from the worker's perspective. So the take-home message is this: communication is everywhere. So all things have different ways to communicate. My lab actually started a new project this year. It's on coral. So there are two specific species of corals that they spawn after full moon. And when coral spawns, they produce eggs and sperms. But egg and sperm from the same released from the same coral, they cannot mate. Even they mate, they will not produce viable progenies. So it has to be from other corals. So when coral spawns, it's the whole population that spawns together. So there must be some kind of chemical cues that signals other corals to spawn at the same time so they can mate. So this is what my lab is working on right now. So another project to work on. And also communication is complicated. So organisms as small as ants have a very complicated communication system. So humans too. Humans, we are so much bigger, we have so much more complicated communication system. So there will be a lot of misunderstanding and misunderstanding happening. So we should actually communicate better with each other. And also communication can be useful to help our environment. For example, what my lab is doing is to eliminate invasive species such as fire ants. Thanks for your attention.